some big NFL news with Darrelle Revis getting traded to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Jets, in return, get a first-rounder, the 13th overall pick, which is pretty good, and they get a third-rounder, depending on, I believe Pro Football Weekly said that if he doesn't attend training camp in the first 3 days, which he obviously will, it would turn into a fourth-rounder. There's something there, but either way, disregard it. First-rounder and a third-rounder for Darrelle Revis. I think it's awesome, because when you look at Darrelle Revis, he is fantastic, obviously, we know that. Coming out of Pittsburgh, he made his impact when he was 21 years old, his rookie season. He's a fantastic player. However, which would you rather have? I guess I'm asking you. Would you rather have a first-rounder and a third-rounder, or would you rather have Darrelle Revis, who is a holdout consistently, doesn't seem like a huge troublemaker, but he just doesn't seem like that guy who is going to be so committed to this team if they're not winning consistently?
Well, I don't know what I'd rather have without knowing. Obviously, the Buccaneers, who have a lot of young players and a massive amount of cap space, are the perfect team to take on a contract like this. The contract is fascinating, and I think the most interesting
6 years, 96 mils, zero guaranteed.
That's the important part. No money guaranteed, none. So Revis confident enough that he can make the team and at least play 2 years and get $32 million, which is what about maybe would have been guaranteed, something like that. If he struggles to come back, obviously the Buccaneers aren't on the hook for anything. They just let him go. Presumably he's going to get at least $16 million. He'll play this year at some point, although he said very clearly in his press conference he wouldn't say that he'd be ready week 1, which is against the Jets. So that, to me, says that he's not quite ready. So the Bucs are playing $16 million for a guy who might play between, what, 8 and 15 games, something like that. He's coming back from serious ACL surgery.
Yes.
That can obviously, it's how you cut, which way, all things that are critically important to a defensive back, more so than a running back. You can point to the what looks like Robert Griffin's comeback, which is being called sort of historic, how far ahead Robert Griffin is, and obviously Adrian Peterson had. But those guys, when you're cutting, they know where they're going. Before their brain knows where they're going before their legs do. When you're a defensive back, you're reacting. It's harder, and I would be dubious about that. That said, from the Buccaneers' point of view, you're not really investing any money at all, and they're so far under the cap that it doesn't matter. Darrelle Revis, nice knowing you, you just became completely irrelevant. That would be my reaction.
I don't think so. I mean, they added Deshaun Goldson also to the secondary. They were 32nd against the pass. They're going to be better this year. They're going to be better.
Barely in the league.
How are they barely in the league?
Barely in the league.
What does that mean? How are they? They're in the league.
I'm saying from a storytelling point of view, Tampa Bay is not in the NFL, and Darrelle Revis just became irrelevant. They're an irrelevant team. They won't be good, and they'll. I mean, they might be. They might go 9-7. They might be a wild card. They might lose 35-13 to the Falcons in the wild card game. There are all kinds of things.
That's still an improvement.
I got you. I'm just saying. I'm not knocking them. They can't do anything about it. They're in Tampa Bay. They're irrelevant. And Darrelle Revis now irrelevant. The Jets, interesting, relevant, fun coach, New York City.
Okay. They're not irrelevant, so we differ on that point. But
you don't think any team's irrelevant?
No, I do. I do.
If the Bucs aren't irrelevant, who's more irrelevant than the Bucs?
When we did the relevant-irrelevant game, I agreed
with them right out of the league.
I agreed with a lot of you, a lot of what you said. Not a lot of you. I don't agree with you. I agreed with a lot of what you said with that stuff. So to make that point as well, I differentiate. So look. With Darrelle Revis, you pretty much, it sounds like you're taking the Jets' side, that you would rather have those two picks with everything you just said. With your mind knowing the cutting. So, okay, so that's your.
I would take for a guy who was a constant threat of a holdout, which does make him a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
He seems like a good guy, and he plays hard, and he obviously is this huge difference maker. But since there's a possibility that he won't come back to that elite status, because there's no way that there's a tougher position coming back from ACL than cornerback, to me. A doctor might disagree with me, and I would be willing to hear that, but I sense that. So for the Jets to get a 1, the 13th pick of the draft, and a 3 to be able to add 2 quality players, maybe 1 elite player and a quality player for a team that obviously was exposed last year as having a lot of holes.
And they had Tebow.
Yeah, I would take that, and they held on to Tebow. Most importantly,
which is by far the most powerful point. Now they also don't have Mike Tannenbaum anymore, so you got to think that they're going to take advantage of that 13th pick, obviously. You know, Tannenbaum was a horrible GM.
He might not have made this deal.
He probably wouldn't have.
But interesting for the Bucs. I get it for both teams. The Bucs have so much cap space, and if Revis comes back, and as you said, they added Goldston, so they've improved the secondary. No quite. If Revis comes back, then to 90% of what he was, you've added one of the best corners in the league.
Yeah.
If he comes back perfectly, then you've added the best corner in the league. And that could make a huge difference. And when you have all that cap space, it doesn't really hurt them. And if it doesn't work out, they let him go next year. It cost them $16 million and a number one.
I'm not sold on the Buccaneers, but I still feel like they could make a wild card. I mean, with the team that they have now, why not get a wild card?
Anybody in the
spot?
NFL could be a wild card. You don't know in the NFL going in. You just don't know who can pull off. Even bad teams.
The Bills?
Could they pull off 9 wins next
Bills?
year? Yeah, of course they could. There's no, of course they could.
Want to bet on it?
No, I don't want to bet on it, but I mean, keep in
All
mind
right.
the Bills opened last year 5-1. I mean, you know.
They start every year 5-1.
Well,
4-0.
then some year they'll follow up 5-1 with 4-4, and then all of a sudden they'll be 9-5 and looking at the
Kevin
wild card.
Cobb's their quarterback now, so.
All right, well, they're not making a walk.
Okay, there you go.